process it?
I think it's a fantastic environment. And I think in an idealistic world, that's the way it would be. I think the reason it's not happening today is that I don't think many men actually benefit from marriages or relationships anymore. And people are always going to have to require some degree of incentive. I think that we've set up the world now in a way where men are seen as worker droids. They're expected to go work all day, come home, clean up as well, share the cleaning with the woman, not have no meal prepared for them, not have any authority over the household, and just be a worker droid and be sad. And I don't think that many people understand that men are intrinsically wired to desire respect amongst our peers and in our environments. This is why CEOs work so hard, because they get respect in their company. This is why we all want so much money and fast cars and status and influence, because we're respected. Men desire respect like we desire oxygen. And if a man's coming home to a household where he doesn't feel any respect, he's not going to want to be there for very long. And I think the way you fix this is you need to understand that many men don't have an incentive to be in the house anymore. I think that it's actually would be quite easy for a woman. In fact, there's a couple women who even say this on YouTube. I can't remember their names, but it'd be quite easy for a woman to make a man really happy with super basic things. Just go up to your husband and say, hey, you know more about this. What do you think about this? That would make most men's world. And there's so many sexless marriages out there with men who work their ass off and they come home to a sexless marriage and kids who don't fucking even like them. If you were to just even ask him his question about some asinine bullshit, a lawnmower purchase, for example, he would feel so happy to feel like the man of the house. That's what men need. They need to feel like all this work I'm putting in, all this shit I'm going through, I'm respected for it. As soon as a man feels like he has no respect, that's the absolute end of a man's interest or a man's tolerance of a situation. I think that's the reason it's happening. I know a lot of men who completely love their wives. They love them with all their heart. They die for her. But he's just not respected in his house. He doesn't get to be the man of the house.
Is it on him or is it on her? Like, does he need to go earn it or is it on her to provide it?
It's a combination of both. I think it's certainly on him to earn it, but also the matrix programming is counter to him.
I know the TikTok sheikhs are going to come for my neck, but I don't really believe in marriage. Not in modern day, at least, because I would say that the majority of the time it doesn't work out. And even when it doesn't end in divorce, it ends in absolutely hating and resenting each other towards the end of life. And the reality is that in most marriages, women get the short end of the stick. Like, women are the ones who have to sacrifice their careers, their health, their well-being to take care of their husband and the children. And in modern days, a lot of women are still working at the same time as doing all of that other stuff that has always been an obligation for women. I'm not like a psychopath, so there's still a part of me that like craves it. Like, I yearn for it, but logically, I just don't really care for it because I don't think that it's going to benefit me, honestly. I feel like it's actually going to stunt my growth. It's going to stunt my career. It's just going to stunt me in so many ways, and I'm going to grow to hate that person. I didn't have to be in a marriage to have observed that in literally hundreds of marriages of the people around me. There's also a part of me that's just skeptical about the idea of being with one person for the rest of your life. And because so many people go into marriages with such high expectations, like they think it's going to significantly improve their lives, and then they're like quickly humbled within the first few years of marriage. I just feel like that actually sets people up for even more pain and heartbreak, because society and just like our families have raised us to glorify marriage or to see it as like our end-all be-all purpose in life. And when you are disappointed by that, it leaves you lost and broken and confused. Yes, there's still a part of me that like yearns for it. I do feel lonely every once in a while, but I know that I'm better off alone. And I'm more so in the mindset of like, if it happens, it happens, but it'd have to be like the most ideal situations. Otherwise, I just don't think that it's worth the time and effort and pain. Not to mention, in marriage, a lot of women's needs and their how can I say this without pissing people off? Their desires are very rarely met. There's that aspect of it that actually leaves women feeling very frustrated. And then when they're not satisfied in their marriages, A lot of times the men will then go seek out other women because they can't satisfy their wife. Like, I just can't. Why would I put myself through that? I've seen far too many marriages that have failed, or if they haven't entirely fallen apart, they leave, at least the woman for sure, just feeling so broken and regretful of even getting into the marriage in the first place. Like, most of our moms and aunts and everybody, they're miserable in their marriages and they regret marrying the men that they married. So part of it is also just like the fact that they didn't choose well, but like, that's the reality for most women. Man, the sheikhs are gonna come for my neck.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Nerd Chronicles with your host, the socially awkward nerd, Christian Paul speaking. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that I've done some digging in regards to marriage and life expectancy the other day, right? And I want to dig a little bit deeper in regards with that, since I know there's a lot of definitely some legitimate PUA artists, definitely some that are really true up in, all these pills that they have, and then you have the pseudo gurus that basically explain themselves, and also like the ultra modern feminists, pseudo feminists that basically telling other people not to get married. Marriage is a death trap. Marriage can literally ruin your life. Your partner can get yourself obese or be extremely complacent. I hear all these things, and the reasons for them, depending on the mindset of the person, they do have strong cases for, which I truly understand. And yes, they do provide very cautionary tales of some people should you take that route if you don't take your time, and if you don't vet thoroughly on the person that you're actually dealing with, and actually trying to learn the ins and outs of the mindsets and make sure that person is mentally or psychologically healed, then yes, there could be a very strong chance, if you don't send out the red flags, that you could have a horrible time dealing with marriage. Or it could be like a very, very shitty marriage, giving the time out, and divorce could be needed because of that. Which I can fully understand those cautionary tales. Now, however, what much of, the pseudo-red pillars, the swart feminists, all these other big pillars tell you, and even some of the PUAs don't even tell you. They don't really fully tell you on how to thoroughly vet women. Now, some do, and they could be great life partners, even though they choose not to be married themselves, which is their right. I'm not going to tell any man what he should or shouldn't do with his life, and how he wants to move forward, and how he wants to have relationships, or even have kids, or even be fathers. That's their personal decision. That is out of my control. That is not my business, right? But while I understand that some of their concerns and some of their warnings that they actually have discussed are very legitimate, the statistics definitely have shown and confirmed that marriage is still valuable, especially in today's society, irrespective of which part you're coming from up in the world, whether it's the Western Hemisphere, whether it's the Eastern Hemisphere. Now, what the statistics don't fully discuss in full detail, they do work within certain partners within the sample size. If you vet that particular person very thoroughly and you take your time.
I can't shake the red pillars awake so that they can understand, one, you're never going to experience the depths of life-giving, joyful, transparent, vulnerable intimacy with a spouse when you're just dating. I get where they're coming from. But what is devastatingly sad to me on this is they say it because they've never actually seen a healthy marriage. If you had, you wouldn't be making your argument. So one, you guys don't know what you're missing. And number two, you red pill guys will die alone.
walk with me, y'all, as we careen ourselves to this beautiful view of the Hudson River and the Tappan Zee Bridge. Now they call it the Governor Mario Cuomo Bridge. Come walk with me as I actually try and spit some game and actually try and dig some details in regards to statistics. Now, continue what I'm actually explaining, right? A lot of people feel, and a lot of people may be irked on the idea of marriage, thinking that they fear that they could get duped, definitely when the court system and everything that's shown, you know, a lot of men could really get thrown off and wrecked by it. They could heavily get fleeced and lose everything, which is very legitimate. And I've seen and heard a lot from a lot of content creators and learned from them up by YouTube and understood their story and learned more about their pain. And I admit I don't really know too much about the divorce court system and all the family court stuff that they mainly have going on, which I will definitely admit that I can't really just dictate, you know, whether like, you know, they delusional, all they a little crazy. I want to try and actually come at this with like some heavy sensitivity. You know what I mean? Because I've actually learned more about the whole court system. And the people that actually listen to me actually have the content. They can actually just speak well on this. They can actually explain it a lot better than I can. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to deny that. But I also understand that as having a mathematical background, okay, in the world of academia, trying to get yourself better, actually trying to follow the numbers, actually trying to analyze the numbers and verify it as best as you can. Sometimes you're going to have flaws as well. Sometimes the numbers that are final results and the numbers that actually piece themselves together don't really fully tell the whole story that's fully detailed when it comes to certain marriages, when it comes with steps in relationships and how well they can work. But if you pick the wrong person, you know, obviously these things can backfire. Usually, the reason why you see some people, men and women, will be literally hellbound against marriage is due to the fact that they have like some unhealed traumas that have yet to be resolved up in their lives, either within their childhood, or they have like a very shitty experience with marriage themselves, or they witness their parents actually go through like an extremely toxic or extremely abusive situation, physically and psychologically, that got them literally spooked, fearing that it's going to be wash, rinse, repeat with another partner. But I'm here to tell you guys this. And I want to just set the mood today as we roll up in the cold and the freezing Hudson River with all of the geese literally trying to rest up and literally trying to take numerous shits up in the water. I do want to let you know that there is hope. There still is hope. You just need to take your time. You need to learn. You need to speak with your psychologist, your mental health specialist on these things that specializes in these types of traumas and discuss with them about these ills and the potential strategies that need to be done moving forward. And the child situation is definitely like another story, another challenge in itself, right? It's better to make sure you have your life structured, not just for yourself, but also for your family as best as possible. You do not want to try and put yourself in heavy loads of chaos to the point where it can literally impact you and your life literally down the line. All right? Now, I will say this, okay? Marriage truly is not for everybody. You know, just because you saw some instances where, you know, you may have a shitty divorce, or if you see an instance where, you know, your parents have an iffy divorce, or they divorce amicably, or they do have an abusive relationship or abusive marriage, doesn't really equate to you having the same outcome with your partner, okay? Just because you have some issue with one woman that actually have you mainly stained and traumatized doesn't really mean that another woman gonna actually treat you the same the moment that you try to remarry. Now, it will take time though, because even if you do marry, the journey still continues. The learning still continues. It's a lifelong learning experiment. It is constant improvement all the way to the goal. It's constant learning, constant accountability between each other, mainly until the day you die. Okay? And that's where the real finish line mainly takes place. It's not like where women come by or men come by, they meet you at that particular finish line. No. Even if you guys are married, even if you guys have a relationship together, okay? The race continues. The marathon continues. You feel what I'm saying? It's going to continue that way mainly until death does one of us part, or one of you part. Okay? So, yes, to those that want to try and follow the big tower route, to those that want to follow the pseudo red pill route, or whatever the pseudo feminist route that actually you're against marriage and you want to live your lives and do all these things that you can, that's fine. That's your right. Definitely live your life for sure. I'm not mad about it. I fully understand and I fully accept the fact and respect the fact that marriage is not for everybody. Okay? If you do want to mainly focus on dealing with knots counts, piping down as many women as you want, getting your knots count up all the way out, you feel that marriage is basically like holding you back, don't do it, right? If you feel like therapy is a waste of time for you, and you feel that it just really irks you and it's basically annoys you and you feel like you don't really need all that stuff in therapy, and like, oh, I don't really need all that stuff. I'm straight, man. The red pill got me, man. MGTOW got me. I got herself for life, man. Feminism, man, I don't need a man. I got this, baby. Ain't nothing gonna hold me back. Marriage would definitely have me coming by and make me feel enslaved, right? Marriage is not for you, okay? If you're out here, want to try and follow the Marvin Gaines route or the Pearly Things route, right? Marriage is definitely not for you, okay? I just wanted to try and be very clear. What I will say is that marriage is definitely those that continue to want to learn, that continually want to constantly learn how to heal themselves, that definitely want to actually try and seek therapy and how to actually improve themselves socially, that basically want to try and analyze and actually try and take their time and put faith in those and actually try and create an avenue and try and create an opening for their partner, especially the male partner, right? And this is going to be for the men right here too. This is more of an opportunity for the men. I want to try and go on the male sides first, right? This is an opportunity for the man to fully lead by example. So the woman that's actually traumatized, that there's a world of hope. There's a world of freedom, happiness, loosey-goosey, definitely living life, wonderful fairy tales. Show them that fairy tale. You know what I'm saying? Lead by example. Show expectation. You show what you do through action, not by mainly kissing her ass, but mainly showing that you have a backbone, mainly showing that you lead by example, mainly showing that you can actually treat her very respectfully, very discreetly, understanding a situation, actually trying to acknowledge if something comes by, trying to create opportunities and strategies for her to actually mainly improve herself. You create these things and you give her the opportunities in which she chooses to take. If she chooses to take, should the bond build and should the trust grow, it could be a wonderful thing. Now, for the women, right? If you got somebody that will lead by example, that wants to do everything right, that wants to treat you right, that won't harm you, that won't do anything, and you've been going through consistent therapy on a daily basis, trying to make sure you get your life right, and you want to try and do everything you can, and you see someone that doesn't really, is definitely the opposite mode of all your negative experience that you have, and you put your faith in him, you put your trust in him, you submit to him, right? And I know the man's definitely submitting to God in his own way as well. You know what I'm saying? If you submit to the man, you do everything that you can. I'm not saying that you have to be like an extreme homemaker or anything like that. I'm not saying that, because you have the freedom of choice as well. But if you submit to him, you know what I'm saying, show respect towards him. Don't belittle him. You know, don't be coming by and actually trying to compare him to the X-Men or all these other past men that you're dealing with. You know, if you guys focus on you too and not let the outside noise that's coming your way, and I'm gonna say it to the man as well, your relationship will be fine, and more than likely your relationship will blossom and definitely evolve itself to a beautiful thing in which you're more than willing to hold yourself accountable and actually be open to more learning opportunities mainly down the line. And it's not just for the woman, it's also for the man too. He gotta be open to more learning opportunities as well, to educate himself further and actually be educated and to be constructively criticized by his woman and vice versa. You see what I'm saying? That's what a team does. That's what a team mainly builds itself on. You know what I'm saying? I know about the leader part, that's definitely there, but even the leader can be constructively criticized every once in a while as well. Okay? And there may be sometimes that the woman may take the lead in some fronts on what she knows every now and then as well. You know what I'm saying? You guys are a unit. You guys are a team. You guys are the real prize, okay? The man may be seen as the cats and the woman may be seen as the prospects, but the unit itself is the prize, okay? Now, before I actually mainly close off, you know, for the people that are fully against marriage, if they do want to stay in relationships, it's definitely fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if God forbid you're up in a hospital bed fighting for your life, you got your partner being by your side, actually holding you down, married or not, even in a relationship, you know, ain't nothing wrong with that, right? But for those that, you know, are currently single, you know, want to try and pipe the knots counts, you know, want to try and go through many other holes, way more holes than Sunday frequently, you know what I'm saying? God forbid you near your deathbed up in a hospital somewhere, God forbid, and something mainly goes wrong with you, and now you feel like you actually literally facing God and facing humility right in front of your face, with no one else besides your aid maybe that's actually trying to help you by your side, literally up in your hospital bed somewhere. You know what I'm saying? That stuff that Kevin Samuels mainly said is very real. Again, this is not to say that I fully agree with his teachings, but the buying the dog, buying the cat, buying the animals, and dying alone, oh yeah, it's a real thing. It's not just for the women that are dying alone. It's not for them that's going to stay happily single for the rest of their life and don't even want to try and find love, or actually trying to experiment all these things. No. And they become childless, they sit in a hospital thinking, dang, what the heck I just did. And it ain't just them. It's the men too that want to try and do all this knots count, and they have a significant other actually try and be by their side when they're struggling up in a hospital bed somewhere, really fighting for their life. You know, that's really the scary part in all of this, okay? Now, they may have a shot if they have kids in the past. The kids may actually try to take care of them. They may not, depending on how well they treat them. You know what I'm saying? But their exes may come by, depending on their situation, how what they built with the kids. That could happen, but I wouldn't press their luck. You know what I'm saying? I understand why statistics mainly favors those who are married, men and women with married couples, having longer lifespans, having longer life expectancy to those that mainly don't. I fully understand why, but here's the caveat. They gotta make sure they thoroughly pick that right partner in order for it to work, that suits them. Otherwise, those big statistics that you see up in there are all for naught. And I also want to actually just let you guys know, okay? All hope is not lost. Yes, there's some crazy chaos that's coming by when it comes to the economy. You may want to try and do some readjustments here and there, and try and work out some plans, and nothing wrong with that, right? But you want to try and focus, you don't really want to try and focus yourself on too much on material stuff. You don't really want to do that, okay? Focus more on the character of a person, way more so than anything else, and then let the rest mainly fly once you actually try and start building, and once you start building chemistry and relying on trust, which takes some time, then the rest will lay out its course, and the rest will literally try and flow into place. Okay? So while, in closing, I understand on why much of these pillars and content creators, on why they have their sense against marriage and they causing people not to get married up in this time. Statistics fully say elsewise, and those people that mainly do that, they don't really fully teach you how to vet other people and other prospective life partners just for marriage material. Actually has to try and prove yourself, and actually how to actually vet the right person that'll better your life, giving your standards and giving your stuff properly. You know what I'm saying? And thinking that, you know, you gotta come by and get more young 20-ish people to come by because they're more agreeable. Realistically, they may not be the case because, again, you know, they're not fully developed. They may not be mature enough to actually understand the stuff that's going on. You still have to lead by example. And sometimes the young ones, the early 20s, they may still be immature at that time, even when they graduate out of college, because there's a lot of stuff that's really going to throw up in their face whenever the real world hits them, right? And to further even the statistics, right? You know, the more highly educated the person is, the more stable the marriage gets, right? Whereas, you know, if you're dealing with people that actually aren't as educated as, you know, like highly dealing with somebody with a master's degree or a law degree, right? The relationship may not work out, the divorce may not work out. Divorce may more likely more so happen, right? If you're dealing with people that are like about 10 years apart or even more 15, 20 years apart, you know, there's a chance divorce could happen as well. You know, given the fact that you guys may not see eye to eye due to different errors also. So that's the other statistical part in that as well when it comes to that. So this is something that's definitely food for thought. You know, definitely food for thought when you think about it. I just want to try to actually just give my 2 cents as to why you really shouldn't be too dismal or really have your hopes down when it comes to marriage. I would say you do what you feel is right for you, but make sure you actually make a thorough decision right before you make something like this happen. It's definitely trying to do a lot of thorough research. Get yourself, like, you know, definitely go to a therapist if you feel like you're not fully healed, and then you can make a thorough decision from there. All right? Let me go back inside the car. No more talk from me because it's going to be mucho frio. Chris Paul from Nerd Chronicles is signing out.
I talk all day long about traditional women. Where's your traditional woman? Oh wait, none of them want a red pill streaming high value man. And none of them are like, you know what I need? I need a red pill manosphere content creator. And I've actually had women DM me talking about, like, I went on a date with a red pill guy and oh no, that did not go well, right? So it's like, or it's like, if you don't have a functional relationship, then you can't really give advice about relationships either.